The phone rings at 2:17 in the morning. An older woman, I'm going to call her Helen, wakes up disoriented, fumbles for the receiver, and the voice on the other end is sobbing. Grandma, Grandma, it's me, it's Tyler. I'm in so much trouble. Helen's heart stops. Because it is Tyler. She knows that voice. She has known that voice since he said gamma for the first time when he was 2 years old, since he called her crying from his first day of college, since he sang the happy birthday voicemail he leaves her every year. She would know that voice anywhere. In the next 47 minutes, Helen is going to get dressed, drive to her bank, withdraw $9,800 in cash, and hand it to a stranger in the parking lot of a drugstore in True, believing, with every fiber of her being, that she is saving her grandson from going to prison. Tyler is asleep in his bed in Madison, Wisconsin. Tyler is fine. Tyler has never been arrested in his life. But the voice on the other end of Helen's phone was Tyler, or it was something that sounded so exactly like Tyler that the difference didn't matter. And it was reading from a script that has been refined by criminals across hundreds of thousands of calls, designed to do exactly one thing: make Helen unable to think clearly long enough to send the money. That is what this video is about. Because the call that's about to happen to Helen is happening right now to an American adult over 60 every few minutes. The FBI's most recent annual report, the one released this April, broke this kind of fraud out as its own category for the first time. And the numbers are the kind you read twice. Older adults lost more than $7 billion to cybercrime in 2025, with an average loss for victims over 60 of around $38,000 apiece. And the FBI says only about 15% of victims ever report it because they're ashamed, which means the real number is roughly 6 times worse than the one you've heard. So here's my promise for the next 20 minutes. You'll see Helen's call the way the scammer sees it, broken down into 7 separate manipulations in the precise order they happen, so you'll never not see them again on another call. You'll learn the one piece of technology that turned this scam from amateur into nearly perfect, and you'll learn the one boring 3-second defense, 1 sentence, 2 words, that breaks the entire thing instantly. A defense you can set up with your parent or grandparent this weekend, in less time than it takes you to make a pot of coffee. But first, the honesty I always owe you, because trust is the only thing that matters on a channel like this. Helen and Tyler are composites, names changed, details combined from many real cases. But the call you just heard about is not hypothetical. In July of 2025, a real woman named Sharon Brightwell in Dover, Florida, sent $15,000 in cash to a courier after a call that used what she said was her daughter's exact voice, the scared cry she would have recognized anywhere. Her daughter was sitting safely at her desk at the time. The case made national news, and I'll come back to it later, because it's the proof that nothing in this video is theory. And one more thing, I am not your attorney, and I am not law enforcement. Treat what you're about to hear as the map, and the resources I'll name at the end as the directions. Okay. Let me tell you what's actually happening on Helen's phone. The grandparent scam isn't new. For more than 20 years, scammers have called older adults pretending to be a grandchild in trouble, needing bail, hospital money, lawyer money. The FBI has a formal name for it. They call it the distress scam. For most of those 20 years, it had a real weakness, though, which is that the scammer's voice didn't actually sound like the grandchild. So the call had to be hurried and muffled and crying. Anything to keep the older person from saying, wait, that doesn't really sound like Tyler. That weakness is gone. And that's why this video exists. Somewhere around 2023, the technology to clone a voice from a tiny scrap of audio escaped the laboratory and became something any criminal can rent for less than the cost of a streaming subscription. The current tools need as little as 3 seconds of recorded audio to build a convincing copy of a person's voice. A copy that can read any words you type into it in real time, in that person's exact cadence and inflection. And the source for those 3 seconds is hiding in plain sight. A TikTok video your grandson posted, the Instagram story your daughter filmed at brunch, the voicemail greeting on your son's phone, the wedding speech that's been on YouTube for 6 years. Any of it. All of it. And it's not coming back. Now hold that fact in your mind, because it changes the strategy of everything that follows. For the rest of this video, when I describe what Helen heard on the phone, do not picture a stranger doing a bad impression. Picture, with photographic accuracy, the exact voice of someone you love. So let's walk through Helen's call, beat by beat. There are 7 moves in the script, in this order, every time. The first move is the cloned voice itself. The opening line, "Grandma, it's me, it's Tyler." That's it. 2 seconds of audio, and Helen's brain has already done all the work for the scammer. It has identified the speaker, attached every loving memory she has to that voice, and dropped every defense she possesses. This is why she's about to send the money. The next 45 minutes are just paperwork. Lever 1 is already pulled, and it is the single most important sentence in the whole call. The second move is small but devastatingly clever, and almost nobody on earth notices it. The scammer immediately gives a reason the voice sounds a little off. "Grandma, I'm sorry, I'm crying, my nose is broken, I can barely talk." Or, "I've been in a car accident, I have a busted lip." Or, "They only let me use the phone for 1 minute." Pay attention to what just happened. Even though the clone is good, it isn't perfect. There's a small chance Helen's ear might catch a wrong note in the rhythm, but the scammer has just pre-explained any imperfection. Helen's brain hears a tiny something off, and the explanation she's been handed slides perfectly into that gap. Of course he sounds off, he's hurt, he's crying. The doubt is killed before it can fully form. It's masterful. The third move is the most dangerous sentence in the entire phone call, and I want you to remember it. "Grandma, please, don't tell Mom and Dad." The scammer asks for secrecy. He says he's embarrassed, or he doesn't want to disappoint his parents, or his dad will be furious, and it sounds so plausible, so human, that Helen agrees. She agrees in the first 2 minutes of the call, and in that moment, the scammer has just cut every wire that could have saved her. He has unplugged her from the one defense that breaks this scam every single time, calling anybody else in the family to check. He didn't ask her for money yet. He asked her to be alone. The money is just the consequence. The fourth move is the handoff. Tyler, still crying, says he can't really talk because the police are there, and could she please talk to his lawyer? The scammer literally trades places with someone else on the line, sometimes the same person doing a different voice, sometimes a partner, and a calm, professional, completely fake voice takes over. "Hello, ma'am. I'm Mr. Davis. I'm representing your grandson in this matter." The whole register of the call just shifted. There's now an authority figure, a buffer, a grown-up in the room. Helen has stopped talking to a sobbing 19-year-old and started taking instructions from someone who sounds like he knows what he's doing. The clone has done its job and stepped off stage. The fifth move is the clock. Mr. Davis explains, with great seriousness, that Tyler has an arraignment in 90 minutes, or that the courthouse closes at 5 and after that he stays in jail overnight, or that the prosecutor is offering one deal and only one and it expires this morning. Every version of this scam runs on a deadline that is exactly short enough to prevent thinking and exactly long enough to physically get the money. Helen is not making a single decision after this point. She is reacting to a clock. The sixth move is the part that, on paper, should stop everyone, and almost never does. The weird payment. Mr. Davis explains regretfully that the court only accepts payment one way. Sometimes it's cash, picked up by a court-appointed courier. Sometimes it's gift cards. Read me the numbers on the back of these specific cards. Sometimes it's cryptocurrency, deposited into a specific kiosk. Stop and think about how absurd that is. No court in America operates this way. No real lawyer would ever ask this. And in any other context, Helen would laugh. But because of levers 1 through 5, because she has heard her grandson's voice, because she has been sworn to secrecy, because there is a deadline ticking, that part of her brain has been switched off. The strangeness of the request now just feels like another emergency rule. And the seventh move locks the cage shut. Mr. Davis tells Helen to stay on the line. Don't hang up. Don't call anybody. Keep me on the phone so I can guide you through this. So she drives to the bank with the scammer in her ear. She walks up to the teller with the scammer in her ear. And if the teller, and this happens, and I'll come back to it, pulls her aside and gently asks her what the cash is for, the scammer is already coaching her, in real time, on what to say to get past the question. By the time Helen hands the envelope to the man at the drugstore, she has not been alone with her own thoughts for 47 straight minutes. That is not an accident. That is the design. And before I show you how the money disappears after that, and I want to talk to one specific person watching, because if you're an adult child of an aging parent, the next 60 seconds is the whole reason this video exists. You have a tendency, all of us do, to think of our parents as people who would never fall for a scam. They're smart, they're careful, they raised you. Please hear me say this with no judgment in my voice at all, that confidence is not protection. This scam does not exploit foolishness, it exploits love. It activates the exact part of your parent's brain that loves you, and then, while that part is lit up, it asks for money. Your dad is not going to fail an intelligence test. He is going to hear his grandson cry. And the bar for failure is not being gullible. The bar for failure is being a human being who loves a child. So please, please do not assume your parents are immune. The most heartbreaking versions of this story always come with the same sentence afterward. I never thought it could happen to her. Now, the money. Where does it actually go? It moves fast. The courier in the drugstore parking lot is almost never the scammer. He's a kid, usually, hired through a messaging app for $200 to pick up a package and drop it somewhere else. Within hours, the cash is laundered into prepaid cards or cryptocurrency, the cards are sold online, the crypto is washed through a series of wallets, and the money is somewhere in another country. Recovery rates for this kind of fraud sit in the single digits. By the time Helen's son figures out what happened the next morning and calls the bank, the money is functionally gone. And here's the case I promised you, so you know I'm not making any of this up. In July of 2025, Sharon Brightwell, a grandmother in Dover, Florida, received a call she described later to news outlets in words I'll never forget. She said the voice on the phone was her daughter's scared cry, and that she would have recognized that particular cry anywhere. The voice told her she'd been in a serious accident, that she was in legal trouble, that she needed cash urgently. Mrs. Brightwell sent $15,000 to a courier, then she called her daughter, and her daughter answered the phone from her desk at work. She had never been on the call. The voice that had cried to her mother had been generated by software. The case was reported by ABC and others. It is the present tense of this problem. So here is the question. If the voice can be perfectly cloned, and if the script is psychologically airtight, and if the money disappears in hours, how does any family ever defend against this? There's one answer, and it's so simple that the first time I tell you what it is, you're going to think I'm joking. A family safe word. A safe word is a single, short phrase that everyone in your family agrees on in advance. It's not a pet name. It's not your hometown. It's not anything a scammer could guess from social media. It's a random word, a piece of fruit, an inside joke, a silly object. Pick one and write it on a slip of paper that lives in your parents' kitchen drawer next to the phone. And then teach your parent one rule, and only one rule. If anybody calls claiming to be a family member in trouble and asking for money, you ask them for the safe word before you do anything else. A real grandchild knows it. A scammer cannot. I want you to see what that does to the 7-lever attack. It collapses all of them. The voice can be cloned. The story can be cloned. The crying can be cloned, the desperation can be cloned. The safe word cannot be cloned because the scammer doesn't know it exists. The whole apparatus that took criminals 2 decades to perfect is broken by a single word that takes a family 3 minutes to agree on. That's it. That's the defense. And while the safe word is the single most powerful move you can make, here's the rest of the plan I promised. 5 things, none of them hard. First, set the safe word this weekend. Not next month. This weekend. A short family text or a Sunday phone call does it? Write it down. Keep it near the phone. Tell your parents this one sentence. If anyone calls saying a family member is in trouble, ask for the word before you say or do anything else. Second, install what I call the pause rule in plain language. Any urgent request for money, by phone, email, or text, no matter who it appears to be from, gets a hang-up and a callback. Hang up, call the person back on the number you already have saved, not the one they called from. This one habit by itself has stopped countless of these scams cold, even if the scammer says do not hang up, especially if the scammer says do not hang up. Third, lock down your parents' financial accounts now, while there's no crisis. The Social Security Administration lets you block all electronic and automated phone access to your parents' record so no one can change a direct deposit number online. You set that up at the SSA's My Social Security site, or by calling them. For brokerage accounts, federal rules, under what's called FINRA Rule 4512, actually require firms to ask for a trusted contact, somebody the firm can call if they notice something off, like a sudden large withdrawal request. Most people leave that field blank. Don't. Fill it in. Add yourself or a sibling. And while you're at it, ask your parents' bank what fraud alerts they offer for large withdrawals. Most banks will text or call before a big transaction goes through if you ask them to set that up. Fourth, audit the audio. Encourage your family, especially grandchildren, to think twice before posting long videos of their voice publicly. You don't have to delete anything. You just don't have to keep adding new training data for the criminals. If a younger family member runs a public TikTok or YouTube, that's where the 3 seconds come from. And fifth, save these resources before you need them. If you suspect a scam in progress or after the fact, the AARP Fraud Watch helpline at 877-908-3360 is free, staffed by trained specialists, and a calm voice in a panic. Report incidents to the FBI at ic3.gov and the FTC at reportfraud.ftc.gov. Not because you'll recover the money, but because it helps law enforcement see patterns and warn the next family. Tell your parents about these numbers now. Write them down with the safe word. Here's the reframe I want you to carry out of this. Your parent is not your patient, and they are not your child. They are an adult who has loved you their whole life, and the criminals who built this scam know that, and they are using it as a weapon. The work you're doing in setting up a safe word isn't insulting your parents' intelligence. It's giving them armor. It's the same as a seatbelt or a smoke alarm. You don't install a smoke alarm because you're a careless cook. You install it because the worst-case scenario is bad enough to deserve a defense. So if you remember one thing from everything we've covered, let it be this. The voice can be cloned. The safe word cannot. Pick the word, tell your family, stick it next to the phone. It is the cheapest, fastest, most powerful thing you will do for your parents this month. If you've had a version of this happen in your family, the call, the panic, the close call, or the worse than close call, tell me about it in the comments. There is no shame in it, only warning. Someone is reading this right now, scrolling past at midnight, wondering whether to text their mom in the morning. Your story is what gets them to send the text. And here's where we go next. Picking a safe word is one conversation, but there's a bigger conversation behind it. The money talk you've been quietly putting off with your parents for years. The one about who's in charge of what, where the documents are, what they have, what they want. Almost nobody knows how to start it, and most families wait until a crisis forces it open. There's actually a calm, kind, 20-minute way to have that conversation. And the right time to have it is exactly when nobody needs to. That's the next video. If you've been circling that conversation in your head and putting it off, this is the one you watch tonight.